like we're all looking at the same thing from different lenses, right? But the mechanisms there, we have changed dramatically. I mean, even if we're going to talk about anxiety, like why would people be more anxious? First off, AI is the tractor or the chainsaw of the mind, right?
Welcome to Jim Bratton Podcast. I'm Jim Bratton. Today I'm talking with Kevin Voisin, Coach Kevin, about the positive power of anxiety. Let's begin. This is the Jim Bratton Podcast. Primarily you're listening. However, if you happen to be watching our behind-the-scenes video, here we are with Kevin Voisin. Coach Kevin.
That's right.
And we're going to talk about something that there's a lot of conversation about anxiety now.
Yeah, people love it. I think that's people's favorite thing now.
Well, it is now.
I mean, anxiety or disorder is kind of like a badge of honor. It's a new party game. Who has the most anxiety and how it debilitates them?
Yeah, no,
funny at parties. You're like, wait, hold on, we should be working through this. Like,
So those of you, listen, if we make you anxious, so be it, because then you can be cool at the next, party. You can claim it as a, I don't know.
That's what I heard.
We're going to spend a couple of minutes, maybe 15 minutes or so. By the way, folks, we're planning on doing about 4 or 5 episodes on this. And the reason I say that it's always discussed, and Kevin, you're right. Everybody said, well, I have anxiety. Well, yeah, we do. I mean, it's part of living. But something that we don't talk about much, and that is what we've titled this, and that's the questionable, the power of anxiety. So we had a couple of conversations, or aspects of conversation, just as we were starting. Let's pick up with start that. How prevalent is anxiety now?
Yeah, I mean, it's everywhere, right? Just the percentage of people who will claim to have disorder or whatever. I think the actual number is right around 26 or 7%, but 40% of people will say that they struggle with anxiety.
Right.
And I think they're right. Like, I think one of the things to remember, and I'm going to trigger a lot of people with this, but one of the things to remember is that anxiety is also a choice. Now, the way that your nervous system processing things, the way you come out of the box, right? Like, that's not your choice.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not your choice. But what you do with it and how it,
That's right.
I often remember back to like Teddy Roosevelt, who could barely breathe when he was a kid. And his dad told him, hey, man, like, if you're going to have any kind of life, you better just embrace doing hard things because you can barely breathe and you want to play sports.
Right.
The only way through that is the only way over that is through it.
Right.
Right. And Teddy Roosevelt, embraced this kind of severe life and ended up being like a star athlete and ended up being a really powerful person despite how he came out of the box. So I'm not saying that these things aren't real. They are very real. And they've touched me and my family. And I'm not saying that, some people don't come out of the box with more proclivity. I also think our modern society is pretty much designed to stress us the hell out. Like
I think it is. I mean, we talked about this earlier. You and I probably approach it slightly differently because I had the misfortune of pretty well coming out of the box that way.
I'm just meaner than you two. Remember,
And
I'm just a meaner person.
it took me a long time to understand that breaking out with your whole body sweating in the afternoon was not a normal thing. I thought, well, man, I'm just a heavy sweater. And I'll go ahead. I'm going to, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to share a little bit of my background, but I don't share a lot because, well, for one thing, when you're active in the business community, you don't want to let people know exactly what your psychoanalysis might be. But I was a worrier. That's what they call it, a worrier. And second guess everything.
If you need a psychological term, it's a ruminator now. Everything now, I've noticed also in the modern world is we have to have a really fancy, no one gets bruises anymore. Everyone has contusions, and like no one gets scrapes, they got lacerations.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad.
Everybody has different gradations of really fancy words. Let's give your worrying a rumination problem.
And in fact, in the old days, before this whole thing was diagnosed a lot, it was simply called atypical anxiety. And it was in the textbooks,
Yeah.
It was seriously. Anyway, the key is it can be lived with, and we've talked about, I think it can be a bit of a tool too.
Yeah,
And I don't mean tool with what I was in high school. I mean, we're really talking about a tool.
I mean, if you want a great example of this, one of my favorite shows on TV recently, and I don't watch a lot of TV, but this one I started and I couldn't stop watching it. It's called Love on the Spectrum, right? So they take
Really?
people on the autism spectrum,
Right.
and then they help introduce them so that maybe they can date, right? And it's really interesting because people have, obviously anxiety comes with that, but then there's this like kind of different filter, right? This different way of processing the world.
Right.
And my favorite part of the whole show is like the first minute to 2 minutes of any of these dates, because you have two people who process a little different, who have no filter, saying out loud what essentially every human being feels in that moment.
That's right.
Like, they're like, "Oh my gosh, you have curly hair. I thought you were going to be pretty, but I guess not all pretty is straight hair. You have curly hair. It's okay. You have curly hair. I'm sweating a lot because you're beautiful, but I didn't think beautiful people had curly hair. And I hope you like me." It's like, no,
Listen, I understand completely. Yeah.
I watched this and it's such an awesome show because you're like, wow, yeah, that was kind of, I mean, maybe not exactly that, but some version of that was happening in me too.
Exactly.
I just kind of managed it a little different. I experienced it a little different, right? And I love that show because it's like, oh wow, that's just human.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, and I think that's with this anxiety thing. I think that the danger of saying, "Hey, I have an anxiety disorder," which makes me an exception to everything.
Oh boy.
The problem with that is it denies the fact that, hey, this is a part of humanity. Like, in fact, your ancestors probably survived to be you because they were like a little more nervous about that big giant lizard over there, right?
Exactly. I mean, in my case, it was worrying about the gate was closed and maybe going back a couple of times to check it. Well, one thing for damn sure, the gate was fucking closed. That okay?
That's right. And I mean, and hey, there could be a snake in that grass, and you looked a little closer, and some of the guys who aren't around, their DNA line ended because they're like, who
That's
understands
right. No,
snakes,
no.
right?
So yeah, thank you for the compliment, by the way.
Well, no, I mean, it's it's undeniable. I did a shoot not that long ago. This is a tangent, but it's a funny story. I did a shoot, so I was up on this big peak, and there were all of these sunflowers that had grown wild. So there wasn't like a field or anything. There's
Right.
all these sunflowers all over the
Yeah.
beautiful out in California. And the drone guy was like, "Hey, we're gonna take the drone in low across the sunflowers, and then we're gonna pop up, and then we're on you, right?"
Right,
So I'm
right.
standing up on this clothes, really cool.
It sounds like an inverted sound of music.
Yeah, it was really. I was like, "All right, cool, yeah, let's do this." And like, but remember, the sunflowers now are really tall, and you can't see what's under them.
Right.
And it was a really kind of powerful drone. So now, mind you, I know that it's the drone doing this. I want to be very clear.
I
I
understand.
could see the drone.
Right.
But man, the drone coming in would shake the bushes.
Oh my.
And you would see the bushes shaking in a straight line. He came out, from a long way. So like watching bushes shake really fast, and it's 100 yards out, it's 50 yards out, it's 20 yards out.
Oh, yeah.
I literally broke into a run. It was completely
Yeah,
it was
well-
completely involuntary. I just turned around and ran, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I don't know." That freaked me out. Like as the bushes got shaking close to me, and so they're like, "Okay, cool. Yeah, that was kind of weird. Yeah, it just looked like
No, it
something was in the
looks like
bush.
something coming through the bushes.
In my head, it was something. It wasn't. It didn't look like something.
No, I mean,
Even though, so like, okay, the camera crew laughs, right? We do it again. I do it again. Like I did it 3 times in a row. And the 4th time I couldn't stop wincing because as it got close, my DNA was like, something's coming out of those bushes. Like that's the things that eat us. And it's programmed, and thank God it's in there because that's why I exist, because
That's
my ancestors didn't get eaten by the real thing. Like
that's
I
right.
think we have to remember that our hardware hasn't changed a whole lot, right?
No,
Like,
no.
although the software around us, I'd say even our minds haven't changed that much, but our hardware hasn't changed. And so, our biggest problems used to be we don't have enough food, and things come out of the bushes in dark places to eat us.
That's right.
And so having that anxiety, the overeating, right? Just anxiety hasn't been a huge thing for me with the overeating.
Yeah.
Using the
Well,
food.
that's the idea of food is a method of survival because you might not have another meal.
Yeah, I mean, hey, the guys who just ate when there was food, that turned out to be a good thing because sometimes there wasn't. Now, winter's not coming. Like the famine
No,
isn't coming. At least
exactly.
right now, hopefully, knock on wood.
I don't know. We'll see.
True. Yeah, exactly. But again, our obsession with the news, right? Like, and I don't know for you, I have this powerful memory of being like 8 or 9 years old. I thought I was 12, but I looked it up, and based on the date, I was 8 or 9 years old. And on the news, the Russians had accidentally shot down, or I don't know. Somehow the Russians shot down a passenger jet that had Americans on it.
Right.
And at 8 or 9, back in the 80s, I remember thinking, everybody dies tonight. Like, there's no way. Like, they just killed Americans. We have to shoot them, right? This is an 8-year-old boy, right?
No, and that's okay.
And I remember going to sleep and thinking, I wonder
If I'll wake up.
what is it like? Yeah, well, I feel it if I'm asleep. Like, we're all like, I was 100% sure. Like, I knew geopolitics enough, and I had understood that, like, if we shoot, they shoot, and it's all over. And I just remember thinking, like, I'm not going to wake up. But then I woke up, and then miraculously we didn't shoot any missiles, and miraculously they didn't shoot back. And this is in the time when we were like, they would put us under our desks, right? Like, for the nuclear drill. I don't know. It must be some type of desk, right?
We were out in the country, so we figured we were safe.
Yeah,
Exactly. Not that we were.
Than out here. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, but I have spent a lifetime being afraid of the thing that's going to kill us. It was started with the Russians is my first recollection. I was like, oh, the Russians are
right.
And then it's just kind of progressed who the thing
There's always a threat.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from South Louisiana. It was hurricanes. Like, every storm, we didn't used to predict those very well. So every storm, you're kind of like,
You'll wonder. I mean, on Midwestern, it was tornadoes, our severe thunderstorms, our floods.
yeah,
The Missouri River comes out of its
every
bank.
place has their thing.
They do.
Right? And the places that don't have their thing, guess what you have? Because all of you, I know who you are. You're in some big city. You're like, that's why I don't live out there. But then you just have crime. You can just have one of your friends stab you for no reason, tomorrow. Like, so everybody's got their thing, right?
No matter how protected.
And the anxiety, right, goes back to that, it goes all the way back to that. How do we stay safe? The anxiety can drive you. The anxiety of, ooh, we don't have any more food, and we have a baby, and we have this, that drives you to go find it.
Yes, it does.
Right? I mean, it just does. And that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. It becomes a bad thing. Again, finding a lot of food was a good thing. Now, today in our world, when the food doesn't stop, finding a lot of food isn't necessarily a good thing anymore because the world has changed. Our environment has changed.
Right.
And so some of our DNA or some of our instincts, and look, this isn't about, side note also, I think it's silly to have this debate of like science or religion or is it God or is it, yeah, it's all of it. Like, I mean, we're not, if you believe in God, then we're just trying to figure out how he did stuff or at least the mechanisms of it. This isn't an either or, right? It's all the same stuff. Like we're all looking at the same thing from different lenses, right? But the mechanisms there, we have changed dramatically. I mean, even if we're going to talk about anxiety, like why would people be more anxious? First off, AI is the tractor or the chainsaw of the mind, right? I mean, I remember, and I'm sure you were told this too, the reason that I had to understand and memorize complex algebraic formulas, which seemed so dumb to me in the 7th grade,
Right.
was because it's not like you're going to have a calculator in your pocket every day of your life.
But we do.
Oh my gosh. It turns out not only do I have a calculator, I have this AI thing that has all of human knowledge and history at its
Just in the world in 5 seconds.
Yeah, it gets really annoying if it takes 10,
I know. God, this is taking too long. I must have a bad connection.
So on the one hand, that's awesome. On the other hand, you were not designed to have that kind of knowledge. Like one person can't have that, and one person can't even have that kind of recall. Well, that will come with what? With anxiety, with a frontier. Even something so simple as, so every time you see a human face, right, you or me,
Yeah.
Your brain, which is really kind of a giant threat detector, right?
Right.
Your mind does a threat assessment. Is that person dangerous? What are his
Correct.
intentions?
Yeah.
Different facial expressions,
A potential
body
reaction.
language.
Yeah, a planned reaction even.
You've all been around that person. You walk around the corner of that guy or that girl, and you just, man, there's something that doesn't.
Something. Yeah.
And some of us react to that, and some of us don't. For me, it's like I'm just gonna go the other way. Like I'm gonna make space, and then if they won't make space, then I'm gonna close space. Really, like some of us have flight, some of us have fight, some of us have freeze. Right? There's kind of those three things, but all of that is good. Flight, fight, and freeze. All three are effective ways of dealing with threats in any given situation.
Depending on the nature of the threat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why those three have survived. Why? Well, those are the winners.
Right.
In different situations, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes being frozen means the predator doesn't see you moving, so he goes after someone else.
That's right.
Right? And so in a crowd, being frozen can be pretty cool. But but those drives, like, so anyway, we'll go back to faces. Sorry. Every time you see a human face, that was the big thing. I mean, the most dangerous thing for a human being typically is some other human being, right?
Yes.
And so our brain does this threat assessment. Well, that was cool. Most of the time, even as recent as 100 years ago. I mean, how many people did you really see in a day?
I mean, how many? I hate to go back to this whole village concept, but thinking about an agrarian culture, there were 50 people in your village, and if you saw 100 people, that was a big deal. And
When
if you
tribes would get to 150, they would split in half on purpose. It was the all terrorists. It was
the natural tribal
yeah,
size.
There's too many people. We can't keep track of all these people.
And now we've got just up the road, we have an effective city of close to 7 million cumulative people.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Well, and check this out. Your brain doesn't identify the difference between a real person and a picture of a person. Now imagine what happens when you're scrolling Instagram and you're scrolling group pictures of people. So here's a picture of 20 people. Here's a picture of 30 people. Here's a picture of 5 people. Now look, they've done studies. When you see a picture of 10 people, your brain individually assesses each of those people as a threat or not. But if you look at marketing, it always has faces, at least effective marketing. Why? Because that's the thing we respond to the most.
And the other thing is, I'm just thinking about reactionally. How many times do you take your 2 fingers and look closely at every one of those 10 people in that picture? You're right. I never thought about this, but
even if you don't, your brain is.
yeah, your brain is, but sometimes we actually have physical manifestation of that because we can.
And because your brain is saying, hey, here's a person in our circle. Do we need to be worried about them? And it goes both directions, right? Again, anxiety and excitement run on the same circuits, right? So if you're excited about something, you're like, yeah, like that feeling when a rock band really hits it. And then that feeling when you think the building's going to fall over, they're literally running the same circuits in your brain. Your nervous system is firing the same stuff, but you're making a different choice. So getting the feel of a face is super important because I could be afraid of you because you might kill me, but you might be a guy who just killed a buffalo and you're willing to share, and that's a huge bonus.
There we go.
Right. So also you might have something for me.
No, this could be the source of a positive interaction. We're making that call all the time. You talked about how our brain is the same. We're the same brain. However, because environmentally, what that brain is subjected to, just like you say, we don't have a village of 150 people. We got a village of millions of people.
My son, who's 11, who, like, if we let him, would just watch YouTube all day.
Right.
He might see 20,000 faces in a day. That's more faces than like a villager 300 years ago might have seen in their entire life.
Absolutely.
And he can see that in one day. Now, on the one hand, awesome. Like, that's really kind of cool because he gets exposed to a lot of
the breadth of exposure.
On the other hand, what happens, right, to our primitive technology when we overwhelm it with 20,000 times the experience we've ever had before? And I'm not saying primitive as if like it's bad. No, I'm just saying you have a Honda Civic. It was designed for four small people. If you're my size, it was designed for like barely 4 of us. But maybe you can get 5 people in your Honda Civic.
Yeah.
What happens when you put 100 people in your Honda Civic? And that problem, I think, as a human being, we can understand that. Well, you couldn't. Well, guess what? What happens when you have to do 1,000 threat detections when you were built for 20? What happens? Well, you start getting freaked out.
Here's another. Can we talk about another sort of freak out that I run into with? And this is we touched on AI. AI, I love it. Okay, and I use it a lot. I mean, I find it a way to increase my knowledge, and it makes me feel like I'm learning every day. But it's a fire hose of information, and that fire hose of information, particularly if anxiety driven or whatever, we are compelled when we see a scenario to act on it. And that's one of my anxious driven things is I think, oh man, I need to take advantage of this, or I need to, this is an opportunity. This is something this is not a fight or flee. This is do something to well, when you've got it's almost like the 20,000 people that your boy sees in the course of a day, Would you ask our endless source of information a question, it'll say, well, Jim, would you like for me to do this too? Oh yeah, of course. And it keeps jamming stuff at me. And first thing you know, the original task is somewhere off in the weeds, and we have a source of knowledge that we don't even want but then we feel compelled to act on. Now, I don't know if this is another aspect of the anxiety that you're describing or not, but I think it is.
Well, there's a feeling, it's life is the pace of life if you want it to. This is why I like going to places where they don't want it to. So I travel to the Philippines a lot. I have a staff out there.
Wow.
There's places in the Philippines. There's places in the Philippines just like here. So, but there's places there where people just don't want it to speed up, and it's great. And it reminds me, oh wow, this is a choice I'm making, right? But look at the news cycle. I mean, the news cycle used to be like, this is a real story, right? So in my hometown, I'm from South Louisiana originally. The Battle of New Orleans was really like one of the very few American victories, in the War of 1812 or whatever it was.
Right.
Right. But it happened 3 months after the war was over. Like a battle actually happened, like because they signed a treaty and it took so long for the signature to get to the generals that 3 months after the war was over, people still fought a war. Now, thank goodness for us, because it's like the only real significant win we had, right? But the Battle of New Orleans, the news cycle was so slow.
No, I
The
understand.
generals on the field fought a battle 3 months after the war was over. Now, if a politician thinks something and then says it out loud, in 37 seconds, someone else has already said something else out loud. Like the news cycle, we used to be like a day there was like a news day.
Right. What happened today?
Oh my gosh. And then
Our
I don't even know.
newspapers were contemporary.
Yeah.
Wow, let's read the paper and see what happened
It's a
yesterday.
couple days old. It'll be,
Yeah, or day before yesterday.
not
Now
much
it's
has
like
changed.
between. Yeah, you're right.
I think the Iran war has been on and off 5 times since we woke up this morning,
It is. And of course, and those.
And what happens, so we're laughing, but what happens is in the morning you hear someone say, oh, it's over. And then 5 minutes later you hear someone, no, it's on. Your brain is going to do its job, and it's going to be like, oh, well, if it's over, here's all the good things that are going to happen. How do I take advantage of that? Or if it's back on, here's all the bad things that can happen. How do I protect myself from that? And we can really wear a hole in ourselves physiologically if, and this is what's so important, if we choose to live on the anxiety or stress side of the cycle all the time, because there's also excitement and eustress, like elite athletes are in stress all the time.
Yeah.
And then you look at their body like, oh, that's amazing. Well, yeah, because they're in stress but they're not in stress like I'm going to die. They're pushing themselves. They're trying to be faster.
Right,
They're trying to
right,
live,
right.
they're putting themselves under stress on purpose. It's a choice that they're making. Right. And I always try to remind people that, like, hey, your anxiety is your excitement. Like your listeners guaranteed have done this all week. They plan their next week, right? It's like, oh, this person wants to meet on Tuesday. This wants to, and so you're putting these calendar items onto your calendar one at a time. And then, the weekend happens and you get to work on Monday morning and you look at your calendar for the week and you go, it's just like you're just crushed.
Because
But by all the stuff you were excited to put on your calendar. Like,
That's
in
right.
fact, it happened to me today. I'm like, whoa, what do I have on my calendar that's 3 hours long? Like, what? That's crazy. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to talk about it. This could be awesome. But most people don't take that next step of like, hey, my anxiety might be my excitement. Like that.
Well, the
I
thing
mean,
is,
actually,
you're right. When we make the list, we're excited. It's a positive kind of excitement, the positive anxiety that you're talking about. When we read the list on Monday morning or Tuesday, whenever we haven't done what we're supposed to do on Monday, it becomes then a sort of a burdensome anxiety. So, wow.
And that's a choice that you make. And as uncomfortable as that is, if people are going to throw things at the screen and write a lot of comments, but at the end of the day, there's a choice you're making. Now, you do have brain chemistry and I am a person who I have what's called hypomania, right? So it's not bipolar. It's actually has some cool benefits, right? It's kind of like I think Alexander Hamilton had this. This is where I hang my hat. But and he did these amazing things, and then he dies in a duel, like the crazy, but then they make some weird decisions, right? Because we have these phases where we're just super. I just think I'm able to be happier than most people on the planet. And then every now and then I swing solo, and my wife has kind of gotten used to this. It's not going to last long, but I just got to go there and crash out a little bit, and then I'm going to come back, right? And so I have, right, a diagnosed like brain chemistry predisposition
Exactly.
to certain negativity or whatever. That doesn't mean the story ends there. And it doesn't mean that I cure it with a positive attitude. So don't hear me saying that either, but it is saying, hey, this is my body. and this is my choice about how I'm going to interpret. Like, here's an unpopular opinion: addiction is a choice, and I've battled with addiction. That was my choice over and over and over again, right?
Well, you're right. You have just triggered a bunch of folks, and
But
I'm inclined to agree. I mean, as almost anybody who's approached their 80th birthday, I've had a few rough spots in my life, and you find a way to get out.
you get addicted to something else. You know what I mean? Like,
You know,
just-
no, I mean,
okay, and that's it isn't a negative, because I think people think, well, I have this thing. Well, great. We all have these things. Like, you know what? I'm 6'4". That comes with advantages. Also, I hit my head a lot. Like, it just
yeah.
comes with some. My son is like 6'6" and probably should have been 6'8", but he has scoliosis. You know, there's just a lot of rides he can't get on safely. I mean, that's a downside. It's cool that he's tall, but there's some downsides. It's hard to find clothes and shoes. You know,
I'm sure.
that's life, and that's when we deal with anxiety. It's not the anxiety that I think there are a lot of reasons we are making more decisions. I think decision fatigue is, and AI definitely amplifies that. I mean, we're making more decisions faster than we've ever made them, and that can be fatiguing. But remember, that's also a choice. You don't have to do that. You can lay in bed all day if you want.
I don't have to have 5 news feeds.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have to see a war go from war, unwar 3 times in a night.
In 6 hours. I can't even
6
keep up.
hours, yeah.
This morning, I'm like, okay, I think I just need to put this down. You know, like, let's see where we are tomorrow.
Problem with being somewhat retired as I am, if you got way, way too much time for 2 things: the news and my friend ChatGPT.
My mother-in-law, my mother-in-law has passed away. She just had the news on 24/7, and I was like, Ruthie, I don't know how you do that. Like, I would be so anxious about stuff that doesn't even. So many people know the nuances of what's happening in the White House, and they have no idea what's happening in their house.
You're so right, boy. With that, we've about used up our time for this segment. Coach Kevin, we're talking about anxiety, and we'll get to the positive aspects that we've touched on, the positive aspects of anxiety. We'll get to some more. We've opened it up for a lot of additional topics, and that will be in episode 2 of, for now, our working title is The Positive Power of Anxiety, with a question mark by it. All of you that are watching the behind-the-scenes video, thank you very, very much. Those of you that are listening, go ahead and subscribe and, do all the stuff that every podcaster says. And, that. We'll be back talking more with Kevin next time. Thank you. Thanks for listening to the Jim Bratton Podcast. Our theme is by Paulo Castillo and mastered by Chris Criticos. Everyone has a story. Thanks for spending time with ours.